Okay, so today we are talking about 3 mistakes that keep your business stagnant. And, while I was, okay, we've been live for 13 seconds. All right. So you've heard me talk about the time wheel. And if you haven't, it is this, right? You'll see time, the acronym time stands for time, ideas, money, and energy. Today, we're talking all about money and the 3 mistakes that are keeping your business stagnant. And we're actually going to be touching on all 4 of these quadrants, but today is primarily about money. So, poor money management, right? It is the cause of a lot of failed businesses. I mean, we're going into a recession, right? And if we're talking about money management and recession, are a lot of the mistakes that governments have made over the years, not just US. Like, I don't know who's not from the US, but there's mistakes that China has made recently. Some European nations have made recently. So, not to get into any of the politics of that, I'm just saying um, money management right now is really important because of the time that we're in. And poor money management is the failure of a lot of companies, businesses, even countries. And so that's the point that I wanted to make, right? There is the economic collapse of the Greece society a couple of years ago, right? And so just take heed, take warning. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And what it boils down to, right? What money management boils down to are mindset issues and bad habits, right? If we look at how we think about things, right, that's just basically mindset. If like mindset is a little woo, my all mindset means is the way that we think about certain things or issues, right? In the US, we have 2 parties, Democrat and Republican, and they have 2 different belief systems, 2 different mindsets on how they operate. Like, right, the Democrats want to run the country a certain way, and if you look at a country like a business, right, and then the Republicans want to run the country a certain way, which and there's and especially when you have like a different CEO that comes in and takes over the business, or not your business, but let's say when we used to work in corporate, right? You have a changing of the guard, a changing of the management. New management always wants to come in and change things, right? So it's a different mindset, it's a different shift, it's a different regime that has a different mindset. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Um, and so, right, if we're not careful, money mindset can really do a number on our businesses. So there's 3 things that I'm going to talk about today that can keep our business stagnant and stuck. And the first one we're going to be talking about is shiny object syndrome. And I talk about this a lot, and it's kept a number of my clients stagnant and stuck as well. Um, I had a client once who had a lot of different marketing coaches, and that may be those of you in this group or watching this live stream as well, right? You've subscribed to a lot of different business coaching strategies, tactics, and um, they're all good, right? It just depends on your business model, where you want your business to go. That will determine what your business model should be. And once you define your business model, then that will determine your offers, your like your lead generation, like all the stuff that brings people into your business and into your offers, right? But if you are stuck on shiny object syndrome, so I've talked about marketing, and are you doing a tactic, right? So that's where we get caught up in the shiny object syndrome. A lot of times it's like, oh, I need to learn Instagram strategy. Oh, I need to learn Facebook ad strategy because that's what this person is doing, or that's what they're doing here in this group. or I need to change the way I'm writing my copy. I need to do this, I need to do that. And those are all tactics, right? They're not actually a long-term strategy. So a lot of times when we're chasing these shiny objects, it's really we're not really focused on the long-term game, and we're buying into these shiny object, courses, programs, whatever. And none of it means anything if it doesn't play into your long-term strategy. Okay, so that was number one, shiny object syndrome. Number two, sunk cost. So the definition of sunk cost is, okay, I've already poured this amount of money into this thing and it's not going anywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep putting money into it until I recoup my cost. And the same thing happened to me when I joined my first coaching program. So I spent, 5 figures on a coaching program that promised to make my, right, it was like 10K in 10 weeks. They had a whole strategy for us to make back our 10K in 10 weeks. And I was like, cool. And then that didn't work. And then what happened, right? I looked for something else because I'm like, well, I became a health coach and I invested in this higher level health coaching program. So if this one didn't work, and then, right, so it's in combination with the shiny object syndrome that actually stacks onto the sunk cost thing. And when we're out here trying to recoup our sunk cost, that's when we get into like these poor money management strategies. And I'm raising my hand because I have invested a whole lot. There was one time where I got caught up and I was like, oh yeah, like I believe what this coach is selling. And I bought another high ticket program. And while, the content was good, I didn't get what I wanted out of it because I didn't really resonate with the coach. And just some of the practices that were happening in there were not Christian. And the thing was, I thought that this person was a Christian, but turns out he wasn't. And just, I went down this rabbit hole of that, and it doesn't resonate with my values. So I was like, you know what, I'm out. And I mean, all of that to say that a lot of times when we're looking for success, we think that, okay, if I just keep putting more money into this machine, eventually it will give me something back. And it's not always the case. And so what I want you to do for step number 2, right, looking at your sunk cost, but we can't recoup the cost that we spent in programs, but we can look at other operating expenses in our business. Okay, I bought into this software, and you keep putting money into it, but you're not utilizing it for everything that it's it's capable of. So if you're not using it, is it worth putting in that monthly um, you know that monthly subscription cost or whatever it is for that software if you're not even using it? But a lot of times we're like, well, I paid for it, so I should use it. But if it's not serving you, then it's not serving you. And it's just there's someone that I know that bought, and it's a lifetime deal, so there's really no sunk cost. Like, there's no ongoing sunk cost. But it's like, well, I bought this program, so I should use it to host my group coaching platform because I bought it, so I should use it. But at the end of the day, she doesn't know how to use it. So does it really make sense, or should she, even though she's already put this cost into that platform, should she just use things that she feels comfortable with, right? The other alternative is, right, you hire out. Like, if you don't understand it, you could spend, a lot of time, money, and energy trying to figure it out. Or, like I always say, delegate it, get rid of it, and give it to someone who, is more skilled technically and likes learning new technology, just give it to that person and let them figure it out, and you know just delegate and let it be on your merry way. And the third one that we're going to be talking about today is penny pinching. And I started off this conversation talking about recession. So I get it, right? That is the mindset of what is happening in the world right now. And it's very easy for us to go like, well, okay, recession is happening. I need to cut back my expenses, which you should evaluate all of your operating expenses, because that's what I talk about in time versus money, right? If you don't have the money, then you'll just have to spend more time working on it. And if you have the time now because you're not busy or whatever, or some clients dropped off and you have more time, then does it make sense? Sure. But I'm not talking about like just penny pinching and going for like the low cost option just because it is low cost. Because a lot of times when we go for the low cost option, there's a lot of legwork that we have to do. Again, time versus money. If we go with the low cost option, what I'm gonna pull an example from a coaching app platform, like a funnel building platform. So there is one that is really cheap, but what I was explaining to this person when they came to me for a consult, I was like, well, you could go with a cheaper option, but when I compared, a couple of apps side by side, apps that I'm familiar with, I'm like, you know what? The user interface is not really that great. Not necessarily just for people who are joining your program, but even for you, like if this person was not super techie, so, right, there was a big learning curve to learn all of the stuff versus a higher end platform, or even like a mid grade, but let's say a higher end platform like Kajabi. It is very, like, the user interface is very user friendly. It's really easy to upload a new, video, a new worksheet into that coaching platform and have your clients get access to it, right? There's even an app that's connected to it. So, right, it's all about when you're looking at apps and things like that, you really have to consider um, user interface. You can't be penny pinching, because in the long run, when you choose the cheaper software, right, there's a steeper learning curve. And what you're going to have to spend a lot of time invested into learning this new platform, which if you don't want to do it, even if you do it yourself, it's still costing you money, because when you are working in the back end of your business, then you're not working in the front end of your business. And front end means, client facing, right? So that's where the money happens, in the front end of your business. Money doesn't happen in the back end of your business, working on the tech, working all of that. And if you're not on my email list, I am sending out an email tomorrow that talks all about um, the questions that I get when I'm helping people with launch strategy. And a lot of the things we talked about today are honestly stall tactics. When people come to me wanting to know, like, hey, which app should I use? And honestly, whatever app you choose, whatever app looks good and feels good to you, you feel comfortable using, that's the app that you should use. And we could do side-by-side comparisons of all the apps that are out here, but in the long run, the one that is most economical and efficient for you is the one that you should use. And that's the advice I give to my clients all the time. So again, just to wrap up, right? Number one, you need to avoid shiny object syndrome, right? Like, don't keep buying things that just look good and like you're not even sure if it's even going to help you. Sunk cost, right? When we have already invested something, into this project or whatever. We keep dumping more money into it, thinking it's going to turn around. It's kind of like gambling, right? You put money in a slot machine and you're like, oh, well, I already spent X amount of dollars. Like, it should hit, it should turn around. And then what? It eats more of your money and never comes back. And then number three, penny pinching, right? Time versus money. Don't be penny pinching. I don't know. There's a. It's not in my notes, so maybe I'll drop it in the comments. Well, okay. This is not for this application, but right, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So if you're penny pinching and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna spend an ounce here, but then you're gonna be paying pounds on the back end. So that's how I want to put that analogy out today. So, right, these three things are what is keeping your business stuck and stagnant. So getting rid of these three money mindsets will really help you to get to that next phase of your business growth. And if you're ready to, I'm hosting a workshop on September 13th. And if you want access to that, go drop, I don't know, just a workshop in the comments and I will get you the link to sign up. Okay, thanks. As always, if you have any questions, drop those below here as well and we'll talk about it in the chat. Okay, thanks.